Today, I'm going to discuss the story I Ruined Everything for Nothing. Guys, a woman wrote this story, and she's going to tell you the whole thing. Additionally, you'll probably cry your eyes out and sing the blues. Take pity on her for destroying not only her marriage, but also her relationship with her children and that of her husband. She will also tell you her story, and you will discover that she never had any other relationships besides with her husband. And as many women do, began to get bored and wonder if the grass was greener on the other side before eventually cheating on a younger married man. But you'll see that, in the end, just like in all of these stories, she gets caught. The only difference is that her husband isn't one of those guys who will just give in, forgive her, and listen to all of her crocodile tears. No, that's done by her. She's nothing. And not only with him, but also with her children. But I'm doing this one guy as an example of how, in our Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 world, if you think you're safe with your wife because you just so happened to get a girl who was her first, and that, oh, since she never been up with anybody else, I'm safe, wrong. Of course, crying the blues and looking for a lot of pity online. Again, some of these women begin to ponder because, in today's world, you are not an empowered woman unless you have requested an open relationship or something similar. They then leave when they get bored and see an opportunity. How many of my stories have had that happen to them? How many of you have found yourself in a similar predicament? Although I'm sure it has, I hope not many. Welcome to the world of today. Therefore, this idea that you get first and think, oh, that's safe, it's good to fail. Among many other things, I have always held that that concept was not wise. You'll see throughout the story, and I'll point that out as we go. I have no idea where to begin or when it begins. My family has been ruined by me. My children won't even want to be in the same room as me because my husband is leaving. I might seek advice by posting here, as my sister suggested. Since your sister posted here, you probably wouldn't bother with her because she's probably listening to your tearful story. That's probably what's going on. Even typing this out took a lot of effort. I realized after weeks of crying that I had been lying to myself to improve my story. When I can't even be honest with myself alone, what hope do I have? Because I'm in such a terrible state. This is a little scattered. I apologize for the wall of gibberish. I'm a woman of 38 years old. We have been together since I was 16 and have 4 children, all of whom range in age from 15 to 8. My husband is 39 years old, 18 wonderful years of marriage. And by the way, guys, you'll notice that she sounds like she has a pretty good life, with kids, a family dynamic, how her husband treats her, and all that, but she still gave it all up for a guy. I was having an affair, she said. For a while. It felt great. Now that I look back, I realize that everything was just a fantasy. I'm now so embarrassed that I can't even put it into words. I came to look in the mirror at myself. Everyone, including my sister, despises me. Is there anyone else who would take me in? Oh, bad news. You lay out your bed and make it. By the way, my sister is cheating. How is his family doing? Due to it, her fiancé left her. Still, she constantly yells at me, telling me how bad I am. She took the same action. She first learned about my infidelity. She warned me that if I didn't stop right away and tell the truth, I would end up in trouble. I refused to stop because I was too self-centered and stupid to realize that I was too caught up in myself to pay attention to her. In turn, she eliminated me from her life until she took me in. Someone who had been through it warned you, but you didn't listen. You are superior. My husband has started the divorce process, and I don't want to talk to him or talk to him. I have no idea how to fix any of this, let alone whether I can. He hasn't shown up to talk to me in 3 days, even though he said he would. Hoo-boo. He is not to blame. I did him so much harm. I shattered him. My children, myself, my family, and I long to ease their suffering and simply vanish. I stay in bed, hate myself, and stare at the ceiling. I get the impression that my heart is trying to escape from my chest whenever there is silence. When I have panic attacks, it is hard for me to breathe. I have difficulty eating. My nightmares keep me awake at night. I witnessed my husband's agony as well as his cold gaze upon me. With the way she writes here, she could start a career as a novelist. Get down to business. This may have started for me about 3 years ago, according to the therapist I see. Cancer caused the sudden death of my schoolmate's best friend. She never had a husband. She lived a lavish lifestyle as a partner at a law firm. She has always impressed me, or you've always envied her. Let's be honest with ourselves while you try to be honest. Envy, I say. While our children were young, I worked in marketing and stayed at home for long periods. The best time of my life was spent with my children at home. Therefore, the time you spend with your children is the best time of your life, and your husband's earnings allow you to remain at home for an extended period. Thus, once more, it appears that she has it pretty. And just wait until you see how she describes her husband's treatment of her. As a result, it demonstrates that you can accomplish a great deal and still provide for some women. I began to reevaluate my life for some reason. Especially what I hadn't done, my friend died. I also became very critical. I started to feel bad about myself. I lost all confidence in myself. I began to resent my husband because I had only been with him. It appeared as though he had denied me experiences or love or something. You might have been denied romantic experiences by your husband. If you didn't get enough when you were younger, you'll put it down to him. If you wanted to do that. I was thinking in circles. I was the one who went after him. I was the one who desired a family and marriage. That's it for now. Usually, it works that way. The guy is pushed into the relationship, marriage, and family by the woman. Therefore, you shouldn't hold him responsible because when you were younger, you needed to get enough. I had the impression that I should have done more, seen more, and experienced more in my life. I somehow managed to attribute everything to my husband. I did not discuss it with him. I knew deep down that I was still just stupid. I started to feel resentful, and over time, I would gradually push my husband away. I had absolutely no reason to feel this way. My husband was caring and loving. Healthy youngsters, an excellent career and life hobbies, good health, nice vacations, friends, a large, loving family, and the economy are all good. By most standards, my life was wonderful. It wasn't perfect, of course, but who cares? I'm sure that people could have heard it described from other parts of the world, where people sometimes don't know where their next meal will come from or whether they will be invaded. You are lamenting. Your life is empty despite all of your nice possessions. Lady, you must be kidding me. Around this time, my younger sister got engaged. Growing up, she was somewhat of a party animal, and her fiancé was wonderful. I liked her life, became envious of it, and considered it superior to mine. Well, the carousel is referred to as party animals. Before they got married, my sister had an affair with her fiancé, and he left her. She was heartbroken. It's interesting that both of these women have committed adultery, and that both of these women were in relationships with men who were strong and drove their wives to the side of the road when they discovered their infidelity. Awesome. She has admitted to me that this is her greatest regret, but I have only recently realized that she was on my foot and came to understand. I somehow became obsessed with her infidelity. I started dreaming about it in my fantasies. Therefore, about 7 months ago, I began to respond to a younger married coworker's flirtations. Also, it takes two to tango, so you're going to ruin not only your marriage, but also your relationships with other guys. Therefore, he is just as guilty and will ultimately also get him. I should add. Almost immediately, it turned into an emotional affair. I adore the focus. Ding dang. How many times have I mentioned women and attention validation to you? It never lets up. Because of this, he had these women in their 30s and 40s start Instagram accounts on TikTok for the first time. These women are showing off their bodies and doing anything to get attention from men. He already knew what to say. The first 2 months were a blur somehow, a tremendous rush and excitement. It's nice that people find you attractive, isn't it? Sure. However, craving it and acting on it are two different things. I failed to take care of my family and husband during this time. I treated my husband badly and would deny him intimacy. I somehow managed to feel resentment toward him for my actions. In addition, this is the same woman who, as a result of how he treated her and kicked her to the curb here, is crying and seeking online sympathy. He is treated badly by me. I care for my family. He offended me. My family was neglected by me. This is why I kept saying boo-hoo, blaming him for my sense of shame. I can see how much I hurt him when I look back. I could see that he was hurting. It's so easy to ignore pain. When I first read about this person, I thought, wait a minute here. His facial pain. Perhaps hubby is not so blind. Perhaps the hubby is aware of the situation and is planning something. I recall how hard he tried to get me back, but I was able to convince myself that what I was doing was right. In my mind, I deserved it, and everyone ought to be content. It was due to me. She ought to have a wonderful family life. And while her husband is wonderful and provides her with a good, steady income, she ought also to receive some side benefits. She is due it. In the 2020s, you won't be considered an empowered woman unless you have open relationships or are unfaithful. It is due to me. It might be necessary for me to persuade myself that I was entitled to this unfaithfulness, that it was beneficial to me, and that nothing else mattered. In about 2 months, it went from emotional to physical unfaithfulness. At best, it was mediocre. My cheating partner was extremely self-centered, too bad. The excitement I felt started to slowly fade when I became a physical person. Yes, because you achieved your goal. It no longer looked forward to the next step. Everything was accomplished by you. It was more attention and flirting, more focus on kissing and then being unfaithful. After that, nothing more comes to mind. Now I'm bored. I desired the initial thrill. Ding-da. However, the initial rush lessened the more time I spent with the unfaithful partner. We never really connected on an emotional level. It was still just a fake. I'm pretty sure I loved him. You adored the acknowledgement and attention. That was your favorite thing. Additionally, I was beginning to experience a growing sense of guilt for my actions. Additionally, I blamed my husband for it. I was terrible to him and managed to put my feelings on him. Then I felt bad about that, put the blame on him, and treated him even worse as a result. She is therefore unfaithful to him, unfaithful to her family, and unfaithful to her husband for being honest here. The fact that she is unfaithful to another man is bad enough, but now she is treating her loving husband like trash. Now, notice that she said she treats him badly, but that he still treats her well. And how many times have I remarked to her, you don't reward someone who treats you poorly. When someone treats you like you're nothing, you stand up for yourself and don't allow it. You don't reward bad behavior because he was the one who was harmed by her selfishness and unfaithfulness in this situation. I don't want to cause him too much stress. However, just a quick reminder of that for you. I started to notice a significant shift in my husband about 2 months into the physical affair. Aha, what might be happening here? He stopped trying to start a relationship. He stopped taking care of all the little things I needed. I used to find love notes left by him around. He would typically go out of his way to make me smile or laugh. He used to make this little joyful sound whenever he gave me a hug or kiss. He stopped including me in his life as a result. He refused to even converse with me. Hubby is aware, and all he needs to do is wait for the right time. On days when I had to work late, he used to prepare my favorite meals. Now, when he made regular dinner, he didn't even make a plate for me. He only would cook for himself. I tried to argue with him about the kids, but he just left the house without saying a word. That drives women crazy when you walk away and don't say a word, and they want to fight and continue the drama. Engaging with her, which is exactly what they want, is less effective than silence. I was reluctant to accept it. Despite my denial, I now realized that he had already severed all ties to our relationship. Despite this, it went on for almost a month before I finally ended it with my partner who was cheating on me. Strangely, I had no desire to continue our conversation. Yes, because you were aware that your husband had discovered that your number had increased. His actions showed that he was aware. Therefore, it was no longer a case of you can't have your cake and eat it too. I began attending one-on-one counseling. It was pretty much laid out for me by my therapist. Despite this, I resisted the urge to disclose. I began frantically attempting to reconnect with my husband. I was still lying to myself. I was able to persuade myself that he would come back to me if I behaved like the ideal wife. My husband had no interest at all, but he would eventually change his mind. Yeah, keep telling yourself that, honey, I told myself. The crushing guilt, in my opinion, would disappear. I think things would get back to normal faster and better than ever if I could reconnect with my husband. He would never learn the whole story about how I betrayed him. You believe you can succeed. To your husband, after 18 years of marriage and the wonderful life he has created for you, you think you can just go back to the way things were and he won't ever know the full truth. Who knows what the guys will discover? When the truth is revealed, they will find out, but nobody ever considers that at the time. I would dress him up in his preferred manner, clean the house, and attempt to learn how to cook his favorite food or anything else I could think of. Nothing held up. Even I made an effort to merely touch his hand. He would turn his back on me. He would barely glance at me. When I attempted to speak with him, he had been out a lot. He would typically not even respond. He would respond with something along the lines of, I don't care. He would then simply leave. I knew deep down that I had lost my husband. I simply declined to accept it. Before this, he would always look at me with a tremendous amount of love in his eyes. He would adoringly smile while rushing his eyes over me for extended periods. Watch to see what happens when women are assured in their relationships. His actions make it abundantly clear that she was certain. This man was treated like a queen and would never leave. Give her a pedestal. And if you want, you could do that to a woman you truly loved in a perfect world. Really, that would be wonderful in the ideal world. However, we are all aware of the stories I review, as well as the correspondence you guys send me when men and women begin to engage in this behavior. The relationship that is completely secure and certain is where the trash begins. If it were the other way around, it would be nice, but it isn't. Exactly why. However, notice how, now that she is uncertain, she is suddenly constantly kissing his feet. It says here still, and I was able to convince myself that everything would be fine. I hadn't begun to cry for a few weeks. When I got home, my husband was working in the kitchen. For the first time in a long time, he was smiling. I sat down, and although the rest of the conversation is a little hazy, I discovered that my husband was aware of the affair almost throughout. He is saying, "You're out of here, honey," which is why he is smiling. It's over. That is the situation. He told me we should divorce at the end of his speech in such a way that he anticipated my enthusiastic desire for one as well. I was completely crushed by the reality of my actions. I was out of breath. I was unable to see clearly. I just couldn't make coherent sentences or thoughts. After a brief period of babbling, my sister arrived and picked me up. She was still in Lee and was conversing with me in the automobile. I have no idea what she said. My husband visited me a few days later to talk to me. I've been frantically looking up ways to fix your marriage online. Even set him a timetable and a complete written confession. I provided him with everything. A postnup that is entirely in his favor, giving him full access to anything and everything he wants at any time. If only you would remain with me. It is late. You destroyed it. Even though he took the timeline, he did not want to read it. I told him everything, and for a split second, I could see the pain on his face. The same agony that I had so easily ignored in the past came back again. I could see that he was oblivious to my suffering. I was hurt even more by this. Even though I didn't deserve any of it, he continued to treat me with respect and fairness. I eventually had to accept that his eyes no longer held love for me. As he argued with me, all I could see was mistrust and disappointment. I could no longer deny that I was to blame for everything. I had betrayed my husband's confidence. He was broken by me. In the past, he was considerate, open, and full of jokes. You bet that you are to blame for this. Why not? Lady, in what other way is this not your fault? Keep in mind all of the accountability. I created this new man in front of me. He was solely concerned with moving on, a somber, emotional brick wall. Without blinking, he went into great detail about how badly I hurt him and how he would never be the same. He informed me that my actions had killed the love he once had for me. He would like to date. He even imagined meeting a woman because he didn't want to be unfaithful like me. As a result, he wants to get a divorce as soon as possible, and I bet the woman he chooses will probably be younger and prettier. And that will without a doubt make her crazy. He claims that I have no idea how I managed to ruin my life so badly. My family has been destroyed, and my children will now have to bear the pain of a divorce and growing up in a broken home. Mom, thank you. After that, I started to feel unresponsive, and I awoke in the hospital. My husband was not present, but my sister was. I was even more devastated by that. I confessed what I had done and began calling everyone when I arrived. I called the partner in the affair's wife. The employer is friends with his parents. I also resigned. Everyone I could think of calling. I'm now hated by everyone, and I deserve it. I'm not trying to be negative, but misery still loves. Nevertheless, my husband is not addressing me. What purpose did I destroy my family, break up with the love of my life, and traumatize my children? A few low-cost thrills. I don't know how I managed this. Can I communicate with my husband? I can't possibly ask him to do that. Honey, it's over now. How can I ever again confront my children? What exactly do I say to them? I want to fix this, but how can I even begin? Is it at all feasible? I'm totally confused. I have no idea what to do. There is no way out for me. Boo, as I repeatedly stated throughout this video, you destroyed it. You were doing an excellent job. Even though her life, as she described it, is probably 10 times better than the lives of the majority of people, she still had to screw everything up. It's a shame. She is not reuniting with her husband. No, it is done. Go on. In addition, the best thing you can do is to assist this man and demonstrate your regret to ensure that his divorce goes as smoothly as possible, and to be extremely generous with everything. Concerning child custody then, the division of assets, alimony, and other such things. That is how you can express your regret. In that way, you might be able to redeem yourself and leave them alone to start a new life. And finally, if you end up dating her in the future, which I assume she will, it appears that she doesn't make any mistakes. The fact that it will take time is another positive aspect for the children. Some people may or may not ever forgive you, but that is all you do. Give him a break. Allow him to continue with his life. Given your actions, that is the best thing you can do in this situation. However, guys, this is flawless. Again, in this day and age, you can't be empowered unless you have an honest relationship. You are all aware that we are conducting an unfaithful activity and that it is being promoted. I make these videos for this reason. Also, I want to emphasize it once more. Notice how he treated her like a queen. She felt safe and certain because she didn't have to worry about anything. Despite their dislike of uncertainty, women are drawn to it. Also, if she's so busy, you don't worry as much about her cheating or anything like that. If you concentrate on keeping her and worry that if she treats you a certain way, you will leave her in that way, there is a decreasing likelihood that she will leave and betray you. Because of this, These women will remain loyal to the bad guys because they are aware that the bad guys can replace them in this manner. They are aware that the criminals will leave without a hitch. Thus, it has been determined that for your relationship, guys, find a middle ground that works for you. Also, you're high. You treated her well enough, but not excessively, and you built yourself up to have value. You are successful in your endeavors. Additionally, she is aware at all times that she will never cross you again. You are moving on, and if you replace them with someone younger and prettier, you may receive significantly better treatment. However, if she is so confident in your relationship that she knows you will never leave, no matter what she does, this kind of trash happens. I'm not saying it occurs constantly. Rather, it occurs in varying degrees. It's just bad treatment of you if it's not unfaithful. Thus, these are significant. I go over all of these stories, guys. There are valuable lessons to be learned from this, whether I read the stories online or receive them from you, which will assist us in assisting everyone in their lives. And it doesn't matter if you live in the West or another region of the world with a different culture. It doesn't matter where you live, what culture, religion, or level of socioeconomic status you have. Humans respond to what they respond to. Men respond to their environment. Women react. They react. Because I've had a lot of people tell me that my culture and country are different. It is not, no. You are being naive. I, therefore, thought it would be beneficial to visit here, but she received what she deserved. I'm sorry. She broke this guy. Additionally, I wish this individual well. I hope he gets over this, gets the kids, and doesn't get hammered in the divorce because he deserves that. He already deserves to be destroyed, so he does not deserve to be destroyed even more. Therefore, I wish this man luck. You may never hear from me again regarding this video or anything else, but someone out there is sending this guy positive vibes.